Good morning, respected dignitaries, faculty members, and dear participants. On behalf of Jaya College of Engineering and Technology, I warmly welcome you all to the second day of Faculty Development Program titled From Concept to Manuscript Mastering the Art of Research Paper Writing, organized by the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering. We are also pleased to welcome all our respected faculty members and enthusiastic participants who have joined us from various institutions. Your presence today encourages us and elevates the academic tone of this gathering. Let's do the honoring of the day. I would like to invite Dr. Dilip Singh and Angeline M. Flashy to honor our principal and resource person of today's function, Dr. S. Satish, with golden garment and memento. Thank you all. I would like to invite Ms. Sharmila, Department of CSE, to deliver the Chief Guest introduction.
Good morning to everyone. I feel honored and privileged in introducing our chief guest. Dr. S. Satish is working as a principal in Jaya College of Engineering, Chennai. He obtained his bachelor degree in mechanical engineering from Nurul Islam College of Engineering, Kumarakoil in 2001 and obtained his master degree in production engineering from Annamalai University, Chidambaram in 2002. He has obtained his doctoral degree in mechanical engineering in the year 2011 from VIT University, Vellore. He holds 21 years of experience in teaching and research. He is specialized in manufacturing, engineering, mechanics, and material science. He has published nearly 21 research articles in SCI journals of repute. He was awarded Senior Research Fellowship from the Department of Science and Technology (DST) in the year 2006 and Research Associate Fellowship from Council of Scientific and Industrial Research (CSSIR) in the year 2009. He has presented his research work in various international conferences held at Seattle, USA in 2010, Petru Mayer University, Romania in 2013, and MSAT 8 conference in Bangkok, Thailand in 2014, funded by Department of Science and Technology (DST). He has been recognized as reviewer for many reputed international journals in the field of surface engineering, including Elsevier journals. His current research work focuses on wear-resistant coating on cutting tools, laser surface engineering, ceramic coating for biomedical applications, etc. He is a life member of Indian Laser Association (ILA). He has recently received Young Faculty Achiever Award, Outstanding Faculty Award, Research Excellent Award, and Distinguished Scientist Award from various organizations in 2018. Young Researcher Award in 2019 and Best Senior Researcher Award in 2020. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for letting us know about our chief guest. I'll hand over the session to our resource person of the day.
I would like to thank Ms. Sarmala Madam for introducing me. And first of all, I would like to welcome all the participants, especially the senior faculty members and research scholars who are gathered here for this faculty development program. So yesterday you have seen a very wonderful presentation given by Dr. D. Damodaran. He gave a glimpse about the overall research activities and what are the ethics for publishing papers. So he has covered everything, and today in particular I am going to focus about the way in which you are going to write a research article. So as a researcher or as a beginner, if anybody wants to write a research article, so it is not easy, it is a challenging task. So here I will explain the step-by-step procedure for writing a research article. So as already I told that, so if you want to assess the quality of any faculty members, then people will ask that how many publications you have. So based on that, the quality of the faculty member is assessed. And further, if you want to get promoted as an associate professor or professor, then faculty publication is a must. So as per AICTE norms, you should have sufficient number of publications in SCI or AICTE journals. And not only that, so if a particular teacher or faculty is very good in research, then you can very well visualize that his presentation will be entirely different from other faculty members. So I can refine my presentation in such a way that I can motivate and bring more number of students to actively participate in the research. So that is a major advantage of a researcher. That is, if a faculty member is doing both teaching and research. And as I told that, so if you want to write any research paper as a beginner, it will be extremely tough to write a research paper, sir, previously. So we don't know where to start, what to write and how to write. So we will be just struggling, what are the things you have to study and what is expected for a research paper and how to write. So these are the key challenges for a beginner, especially if a particular postgraduate student is pursuing his research at the beginning stage, he will face these kinds of hurdles. And now we can see what a beginner as a researcher, what should he or she should do. And first thing is he needs to invest a lot of time, energy and money. So for instance, so if I want to be a very good researcher, the most important thing is I should search a very good paper in reputed international journals, and I should spend a lot of time in reading those journals. That is the most important point to be taken into account, and I want to emphasize that, so we are not doing this. And at least, for example, I can say that I am good in welding, so in that occasion, I should daily read at least one research article starting from the initial stage, that is titled towards the end, so that I will gather a lot of information, and based on that I can do my research in a proper manner. So that is the most important thing, that is the time. We need to invest a lot of time in reading the paper, and moreover, if you have some experimental part, then you have to invest more number of money, that is large money has to be invested so as to do the experimental work, and as a result it could be published in a very good reputed that is a high impact factor journal. And previously, then another most important thing is your research paper should be clear and understandable. So for example, if a non-expert in a particular area is going through your paper, he should be capable of understanding the entire concept, whatever you are mentioning in the manuscript. That is the most important thing. Even a layman, if you are reading your paper, he could easily understand. So you should write the paper in such a way that it should be concise, clear and informative. And now let us see what are the things to be ready for writing a very good scientific article. So as I told that, you have to read lot of papers for getting lot of information regarding the research work what you want to do. So the most important thing you have to be with you before starting any research paper is, that is background of your study. So this is possible only if you are reading more number of research papers. So as I said, if you are reading more number of research papers at an initial stage, you can see large number of literatures available in the introduction section. So wherein they focused about what are the things they have done so far and what is the research gap. Everything can be found out only if you are referring the literature survey of each and every manuscript. And you have to note down everything in a proper way. That is, you have to either take a hints from the introductory part, or you have to just write down in a separate note as a sentence. And you have to put the reference as well. And while quoting the reference should be taken from the latest international journals of repute. And preferably, if you are taking references from the past 5 years, it is preferable rather than taking from the past 10 years. And that is the first point a researcher should focus. So another thing is he should be ready with experimental or theoretical results. So I told you that you are doing some experimental work, and after that you should note down the results either in the form of tables, figures, or graphical representations. So it is better to have graphical representation so that you can explain in detail about the increase in a particular value or whether there is a dip in the value. Everything can be very well that is explained by means of a graphical representation. So this is the most important thing. You have to note it down before start writing the research paper. And the third one is identification of targeted journals. So this comes only if you are referring large number of international journals. If you are keeping on, if you are habituated in reading lot of international journals, you can very well say that what kind of journal you have to prefer for publishing your paper. So that is the best thing. Another thing is, as yesterday Dr. Damodaran was saying about the journal finder. So there you can put the keywords of your work and you can find out what journal will accept your paper at the earliest. That is, yesterday he was showing that the first draft, how long it will take for accepting the first draft and how the decision will be made within few 3 months. Likewise, you can everything find out by means of a journal finder. So these are the things you should note down before writing a scientific article. Once you do that, then you have to go for writing the scientific article. So as I said, so if you look at the section of each and every manuscript, so if you go for any reputed international journals, so majority of the international journals follow these sections. That is TAIRADCAR. So T refers to title. That is your title of the journal. And A refers to the abstract of your entire manuscript. I for introduction. M for methods, which is otherwise known as experimental procedure. And RAD refers to results and discussion. So in some journals, they would have specified the results separately, and they will discuss about the results in another section. But mostly in reputed international journals, you could find results and discussion in a single section. And followed by that, you will have conclusions, C for conclusions. Then finally, acknowledgement, it is not mandatory. And followed by that, you will have references. Now if you look at the title, so next slide. So if you look at the title, so title plays an important role for the acceptance of the paper. So normally, you can see that title will be always present at the initial stage of your manuscript. So title contains keywords of the entire manuscript or the entire story. So for example, if you are writing an entire paper, so this title will contain few keywords of the entire manuscript. So that is the reason why title should always be written at the end of the manuscript. So for example, if I am writing a big story, and if I am taking few keywords from that story, and if I am framing a sentence, that is nothing but your title. So that is why it is written as, this title should be chosen at the end of the manuscript, because it holds the keywords of the manuscript. And the most important thing is the title should give a concise and very good information to the readers who are reading your article. So for example, as a beginner, if somebody wants to search a paper regarding welding, then he will just type the keywords of that particular journal. For example, I can go for TIG welding, tungsten inert gas welding. If I type a keyword, I will get the entire paper of that particular TIG welding. So I can say that this keywords is used to sort out the or find out the entire manuscript of the given journal. So whenever you are writing the title, it should be written in a very concise and informative way, so that more readers can go through your paper, and as a result of this, your citation may increase. So that is the most important aspect of title. And another thing is, yesterday Dr. Damodaran sir was mentioning that, so for example, if I am sending a paper to the editor, so the editor don't have so much time to refer the entire manuscript. Instead, he will just view the title and abstract, and based on that, he will decide whether it has to be passed to the reviewer or not. So that is another necessity of title. That is the most important aspect of title. And now, if you look at the effective title, so this effective title should contain this following information. So if you want to choose a title, it should contain the most important subject of your investigation. So first, I will say what are these, and later I will show some journal and refer that particular journal, and I will show whether this is being that is correlating with that of the journal. So as I said, this effective title should have the most important subject of your investigation. So that is the most important thing, and followed by that you have to mention about the method employed. What method you have employed in that particular research work. So in method employed, you should not discuss about the steps involved in that particular manuscript. Only you have to specify the method. So that is the second point. And subsequently, you should also highlight the significant findings of your research work. And moreover, the title should be very much concise. So if you take any of the abstract, irrespective of your branches, so it may be mechanical engineering branch or cyber security, chemistry, or whatever may be the thing, the abstract should contain this information, that is subject and what method you are going to apply, and further you should also specify the significant findings of your research work. So next, so I can show a journal here. If you refer, the journal name is Journal of Energy Storage. So this belongs to Elsevier journal. So if you look at the title is Morphology Dependent Solvothermal Synthesis of Spinel NiCO2O4 Nanostructures for Enhanced Energy Storage Device Application. So this is the title. So as I said, this title should have a subject of investigation. So if you look at the subject part of this title, the subject is spinel NiCO2O4 nanostructures. So this is your subject of investigation. So this is the first part. And secondly, I told that your title should have method. Here in this title, the author have used solvothermal method for synthesizing that nanostructured NiCO2O4. So here the method employed is solvothermal method. So that is the second thing. And third I told was you should indicate the major findings of your research work. So here the major finding is that is enhanced energy storage device application. So to summarize, I can say that the author has synthesized spinel nanostructured NiCO2O4, and he has used solvothermal method, and he found that after performing experimental work, he observed that there has been an enhanced energy storage device application. So if you look at any title, then the title should have this information. And apart from that, another finding is he has also studied about the morphology. So after synthesizing that particular NiCO2O4, he has utilized a scanning electron microscope to see the size and shape of the particle. So these are the most important things you have to consider while writing the title. If you look at any title, it should have all the three information. And followed by the title, you can see that you have to write the author's name. So author's name should be written just at the bottom of your title, and the font size of the author's name should be smaller when compared with that of the font size of the title. And here, as per this journal, I can say that the author's name, that is all the authors belong to the same institution. So the affiliation of that particular author is mentioned at the bottom, that is below that author's name. You can see that, so all the two authors belong to the same institutions. And followed by that, if you have several authors from different institutions, you can put a separate number as 1, 2. So corresponding, that is accordingly you can write 1 belong to which institute, like that you can specify. So as per this, I can say that all the others that is belong to same institute. So I have they have indicated only one affiliation under the author's name. And next, if you look at the corresponding author, so you have to put a star mark, and you have to specify the email address of that particular corresponding author. He is the person who is completely responsible for the entire work of that particular manuscript. So to summarize, I can say that, so if you want to select a title, the title should be effective, and the title should contain the subject, the most important subject of investigation, and followed by that, you should specify the method employed in a single word. And followed by that, you should indicate the major finding of that particular title, that is the manuscript. So that is about the title. And the next section is abstract. So as I said, title is nothing but that is, if you are taking few keywords of the entire manuscript, that is known as title. So whereas if you go for abstract, so abstract you can write in such a way that if you combine few of the key sentences of the entire manuscript, if you take the key sentences of the entire manuscript, then that becomes the abstract. So I can say that it is a concise overview of your entire research paper, and the most important thing is it should be self-contained. You should not copy and paste the abstract from any of the other journals. So it should be self-contained. So no references should be used while you are writing the abstract. And it should be concise, attractive and informative. That is, initially I told that if a beginner, if he is searching a paper in a Google Scholar or using Journal Finder, he should type the keywords from the title or abstract. So once he does that, he will get the entire manuscript. And while getting the entire manuscript, the reader will read the abstract. And if the abstract is well written, if it is attractive and informative, the readers will be motivated to read the entire paper. Otherwise, he won't read. So what I want to say is, if you want to make the readers to read your entire manuscript, then you should write your abstract in such a way that it should be concise, attractive and informative. And another thing is, so the words in the abstract should be limited to 80 to 150. You can go up to 200 also. And the abstract should be always written in past tense. So that is third person. And another most important thing is, already I told that, so if you are sending a particular paper or manuscript to your editor, so initially he won't have that much time to go through your entire manuscript. So instead he will just look at your title and abstract, and if he finds that it is well written, then he will just pass on that particular paper to the reviewer without viewing the entire manuscript. So I can say that it will pave the way for the reviewers to judge about the manuscript. So this is the most important thing. So next slide. Now let us see what are the points to be focused while writing the abstract. So in title I told that the title should contain the subject, the main subject, and followed by that method, and followed by that the major findings. So that covers the title. So likewise, if you want to write a very good and attractive abstract, so this should contain the background. So first thing is background of the entire work should be there, and followed by that you should have the method. That is, you should specify the method in a single line, and after that you should mention something about the results. So you may have done so many experiments. For example, in my case, if I am doing hardness, then mechanical properties like that, I would have done so many experiments. So in all those experiments, there will be a significant improvement in a particular value. So that significant result should be mentioned in the result section. And followed by that, you should write the conclusion. In conclusion, what you should do is, you should summarize the main findings. Main findings should be summarized in the result section. And finally, you have to give a hint for the readers to do future research on that particular topic. So again I am repeating. So if you look at the abstract, it should contain background. Background means I want to specify what is the need. So for example, there is a need for the development of nanomaterials for biomedical application. So that is about the background. So that is the background. It should be around 2 sentences. And followed by that, you are just writing the method. Simply you have to specify the method without stating the steps involved. Steps involved should be discussed in the methodology section, but here you are going to specify the method alone. And in results, so there may be many sections. Among those sections, you have to take the significant result and represent in the abstract. And followed by that, in conclusion, you are going to summarize the main findings of the result, and you are going to give the hint for the readers to go for future work. So this is about thing. So as I said, if you look at the background, it will have, that is the need for that particular research, or I can say that there is an urge for the development of nanomaterials. So it remains a key challenge. That kind of wording should be there in the first 2 or 3 sentences. So that is about the background. And followed by that 3 sentences, you have to mention, so since there is a necessity for the development of nanomaterials in biomedical application, the objective of my work should be this kind of thing. So that should be the background. So background means you have to specify the challenges, or there is a necessity, like that kind of sentences should be there for almost 3 sentences, and followed by that, to achieve that or to effectively circumvent that, what is your objective, that should be represented in the background section. And followed by that, you should indicate the method, what method you have employed for developing that material. That should be written in a single sentence. So here you need not elaborate what you did, and that is why it is written as no need to discuss the method in detail, just specify the method. Next slide. And as I said in the results, so here you list the main results for each methods as mentioned in the methodology section. So in methodology section you would have done several experiments, that is hardness, scanning electron microscopic images, wear testing, corrosion studies, lot of studies you would have done, and you have represented the result in the form of table or graph. So for each and every section there you would have got some significant improvement in the result. That should be represented in the result section. And followed by that, you should summarize the entire findings in a single sentence, and you should give a hint for the researcher to do future research in that particular topic. So this covers the abstract. If you look at the example of writing an abstract, so this is one of the journals. This is taken from Springer. So if you look at the title, hierarchical nanostructured WO3 SNO2 for selective sensing of volatile organic compounds. So this is your title. So if you look at the title, it will have all the 3 information. So for example, it contains the subject of investigation, that is nanostructured WO3 SNO2. That is your subject. And here they didn't specify the method, but method should be there, and followed by that application. It will sense the volatile organic compound. So definitely your title should have all the 3 information. Now if you look at the abstract, so if you look at the abstract, so the first sentence, I told that whenever you are writing the abstract, it should have a background. So background means you can write like this: it remains a challenge to find a suitable gas sensing material that shows a high response and shows selectivity towards various gases simultaneously. So here it is mentioned as it is extremely a challenging task to find out the gases simultaneously at a time. So that is the main challenge. So this is your background. So you want to overcome that challenge. So that is your objective. So for that you can see that here we report, or the objective or the aim of this work is to, like that you can write. So the second sentence, you can see here we report a mixed metal oxide WO2 SNO2 nanostructured material synthesis in situ by a single step 1-part hydrothermal method. So what I want to say is, the first line dealt about the challenge, that is the background existing in this research work, and subsequently in the second sentence they talked about the objective, and that is the first part, background. And if you look at the second part, I told that you should specify the method. So here in the third line they have specified the method, single step 1-part hydrothermal method. So that is the method employed for developing this nanostructured WO3 SNO2. So I have talked about the background of this particular manuscript, and followed by that I also specified the method which is employed. And third one is I should focus on the results. So if you look at the that is fourth line, you can see that the density of SNO2 nanoparticles on the WO3 nanoplates plays a crucial role in the VOC selectivity, and the responses of the present mixed metal oxides are found to be much higher than the previously reported results based on the single oxide. So in the third part they have specified the results, what they have achieved. They would have done several experiments, and from each and every section of the experiments they have taken the significant results and represented in the third part of the result section. And you can see up to the last line, that is up to respectively. So that up to that line you have the results. So first thing is I told where background is, and followed by that I also told about the method employed, and after that I told about the results, and finally conclude. You have to conclude, that is you have to summarize the main findings, and finally you have to give a hints for the readers to be to use that particular material for future use. So if you look at the last line, that is your conclusion. They have summarized the results and concluded. The present results on the the present results on the cost-effective noble metal-free WO3 SNO2 sensor could find potential application in human breath analysis by non-invasive detection. So this is your conclusion. So here what they did was they have summarized the entire results, and finally they concluded that this can be a very good candidate to be used for that kind of human breath analysis by non-invasive detection. So this is the way in which you have to write a effective and informative abstract. Next slide. And if you look at another paper, so here also if you look at this, the title of the paper is High Performance Solid State Symmetric Supercapacitor based on reindeer moss-like structured ALOH3 MnO2 FeOH composite electrode for energy storage application. So as I said, so if you remember, the abstract should contain background as the first line. So that is, you should write the main challenge of this is, or it becomes a necessity to, that kind of line should be there. If you refer that abstract, you can say that developing an efficient, clean, sustainable and reliable energy storage system is still a key challenge to resolve the growing demands of energy consumption. So this is your background. And to achieve this, to overcome this challenge, my objective is, in this regard, supercapacitor becomes one of the foremost promising of the emerging types of energy storage systems, comprising properties of traditional batteries and conventional capacitors. So next line, that is herein, a binder-free composite electrode for FeOH MnO2 has been synthesized in stainless steel substrate. They have given some coating on stainless steel substrate. So this is being represented as an objective of that particular abstract. So I can say that first 4 line, there is 5 lines that covers the background of your study. And followed by that, I am going to write the method. So here they have employed a method that is, they have mentioned as has been synthesized on stainless steel substrate through facile, eco-friendly and cost-effective layer-by-layer method. That is the method they have utilized for manufacturing this. So that is the second part. And if you look at the third part, they have given few results. That is the supercapacitive behavior of the synthesized electrode has been exposed in 1 mNa2SO4 electrolytic solution, and they have represented various results. And finally, if you look at the last line, these results indicate that in this last line they have summarized the entire findings, and they concluded in such a way that this can be used for future application. You can see that these results indicate that this electrode has potential practical applications as a power backup, portable electronic device and energy storage system. So finally they have concluded, that is, they have summarized, and finally they are giving a hint for the reader to use for future application. So this is the way in which you have to write a effective abstract. Next slide. And next section is the introduction. So this is the most important part of any manuscript. So I told about title and abstract. So both title and abstract plays a key role in judging whether to accept your manuscript or not. So likewise, introduction also plays an important role for the entire manuscript. So before the start of introduction, I want to emphasize that, for example, if somebody is asking me to introduce myself, so I won't start from the current designation. I cannot say that I am working here. So I will start from my past history. So I am Satish from Tamil Nadu. So that is the first thing. And I completed my education, that is BE from this college, ME, then PhD. And finally, I will speak something about the past colleges wherein I worked. And finally, I will say about the current status. So whenever you are going to introduce yourself, you will start from the past and come to the present. Likewise, if you want to write the introductory part of the manuscript, you should start from the, that is, background of the study. Then slowly you have to come to the current status and what you are going to do. So that kind of thing should be represented as an introduction. So if you look at the introduction should contain few parts, just like abstract and title. So first thing is, first few lines should contain the subject. So subject should be specified in the introductory part. It should cover at least 1 to 2 lines. And example, if I am saying the development of new materials is important in nanotechnology, this is the subject. So this does not convey any meaning. So I have just specified the subject, but I want to say why this subject is needed. So that is, in the first few lines, I should speak about the subject, and I should also say why it is needed. So that can be well written in such a way that the development of new materials is needed for the nanotechnology to enhance the efficiency of IC engines. So nanotechnology is being used for enhancing the efficiency of the IC engine. So this is the subject of investigation, and I also represented what is the need for nanotechnology. So what is the subject and why we are going for that subject. So that is being clearly explained here. So this should be at least you should write 2 or 3 lines based on the subject. So what is the subject and why it is needed. So next line, sir. So as I said, why we have taken this subject, this should be mentioned. And whenever you are speaking about why you are going for this subject, you should quote that particular sentences by means of references. So as I said, references should be taken from reputed international journals. And that too from the latest journals you have to take. And followed by that, you can write the background of your research work. So first few lines, that is 3 to 4 lines should contain the subject and why you are going for the subject. And followed by that, you should write about the background of the subject. So I can say that nanotechnology is highly essential for enhancing the efficiency of IC engine. Then I can quote few references from the literature, and finally I have to say that herein we report that is the zirconia coating to be applied for piston crown and enhance the efficiency of the IC engine. So that is your background. What you are going to do, that is the background. So first few lines should be about the subject and what is the need of the subject, and followed by that you should specify the background, that is what you are going to do, what you are going to report, or what is your aim. So that should be followed by that subjects. So that should be written in 1 or 2 sentences. And after background, you should say about the current status. Already I told that whenever somebody is asking to introduce myself, I will come from the background, and finally I will move on to the current status. Likewise, I started with the initial stage, why that subject is important, then what is the background, and finally now I am moving on to the current status. In current status, I want to specify who are all the authors worked on that particular IC engines and how they observed, what is their observation regarding that, and that should be specified with clear references. That references should be taken from the reputed international journals. So for example, Satish et al. Have performed this particular work and found that there has been a significant improvement in the wear resistance of this particular material. So some other author have performed this one. So like that I have to write few sentences about the current status of the work. So after writing the current status, I can very well note down the research gap. So this particular person have performed this one, this person have performed this one. So though they have performed many ways for developing the nanomaterial, as on today or till now, nobody has developed this kind of coatings for IC engine. So that is the research gap. And after writing the research gap, I can specify my objective. So this work reports on the development of ceramic coatings on IC engines. So like that I can conclude. So to consolidate, I want to say that if you take the introductory part, so first thing is you should start from the subject. What is the subject? What is what subject you are going to discuss, and what is the need for the subject, and for that particular subject what you are going to report. So that is your background. And after writing background, you should note down few current status, that is who are all the researchers carried out research on that particular field and what they observed. That should be written. That is your current status. That is third one. And after current status, you have to you will get the gap, research gap. That is the work which has not been performed as on now. So that is your research gap. That is the fourth point. And based on that gap, you are going to that is you are going to fulfill the gap by your objective. So we can write this work aims at the development of nanomaterial for biomedical application. So that kind of introductory part is essential. So here what most of the researchers will do is So simply they will copy the introductory part from some other journal and they will just write the introduction. So whenever you are going to write the introduction, you should not take the entire sentences from the literatures specified in some other journal. You should modify that and you should write accordingly, and at the same time you should give references for each and every that is work performed by the other authors. So this is about the introduction, and these are the points to be focused while writing introduction. So this introduction should always be written in present, and based on that I will be motivated to read the entire paper. And the next step is I will read the introduction. So introduction, if I read, if I am able to that is grasp all the things whatever represented by the that is author, then I can easily find out the gap. So once I find out the research gap, that is sufficient for pursuing my PhD. And most of the researchers, they won't read the paper properly. They will just read the abstract and they will stop studying further. So as a best researcher, if one wants to pursue PhD, the most important thing is he should read the journal extensively. So once you read the journal, that is especially the introduction part, so definitely you will find n number of research gaps, and your critical thinking will be enhanced. And as a result, you can write plenty of papers, and you can present that is your presentation will be refined when compared with other faculty members and researchers. So next, and let us see an example. So if you look at the title of this journal, that is boosting photocatalytic hydrogen production from water by photothermally induced biphase system. So this is the title of the journal. So as I said, if you look at the introduction, so the first thing is you should discuss about the subject, and you should specify why you are going for the subject and what is the need for the subject. That should be your first option. So if you look at that, that is solar driven hydrogen production from water is potentially an efficient way to address the environmental problems and global energy crisis of fuel production. So this is your subject, and they have specified the need of that subject. That is, the solar driven hydrogen production from water is potentially efficient way to address the environmental issues. So this is the that is the need for going for that particular subject. And moreover, in particular, hydrogen gas has a higher energy capacity and releases no toxic emission. So that first file line covers the need for the study, need for that particular subject, and followed by that, therefore an efficient and rapid, here I can say that, so that first four line speaks about the necessity of the or need of that particular subject, and followed by that you need to specify what is your objective. And if you look at the fifth line, you can see that therefore an efficient and rapid photocatalytic hydrogen production method is urgently needed. So first thing is they have specified about the subject and what is the importance of that, and subsequently they mention the objective. This is about the first part of the introduction I told, and followed by that introduction, I should write something about the background. So the background is this one. Therefore an effective and rapid photocatalytic hydrogen production method is urgently needed. So that is your background. Now after writing the background, I told that current status. What is the current status of research in that particular area? So if you look at further, you can see that there are three main types of solar. Please wait for a few minutes. therefore, an efficient and rapid photocatalytic hydrogen production method is urgently needed. This is about the background. So there are three main types of solar-driven hydrogen production. So here they are discussing about the current status. So they mentioned that they have different methods, out of which they specified that particulate photocatalysis is predicted to be more cost-effective than the other two systems. So this is the current investigation. And further they specified as, unfortunately, the solar to hydrogen conversion efficiency in particulate photocatalysis remains low, though many strategies including structural and defective engineering, plasmonic effects and elemental doping have been discussed to improve photocatalysis, optical absorption and photo-induced charge separation and transport. So here what I mean to say is they have talked about three different methods, and they told about the advantage of that particular method, and further they specified the gap. That is, they told that, however, the energy conversion, that is solar to hydrogen conversion efficiency is very less. So that is your gap. That is research gap. So initially, author told about the importance of the subject and what is the background, and he told about the current status by stating that there are three different methods, and subsequently he found out the gap by stating that the energy conversion is very less. So based on this gap, you are fulfilling the gap by means of objective. That is, you can say that in this work, from the phase interface perspective, we design an efficient and cost-effective photocatalytic system composed of, so everything is discussed in detail. That is, this is about your objective. So again I am saying, if you are writing a best or a better introduction, the most important thing is you should start with the subject of investigation and why we are going for that subject, and followed by that you should specify the background, and followed by that you should at least quote 5 literatures pertaining to the current investigation, and based on that you will find out the research gap, and finally you are going to fulfill the objective that is fulfill the gap, research gap, by means of your objective. So this is about the introductory part. And if you go for another paper, so this is another paper. This is my paper which has been published in that is Indian Journal of Engineering and Material Science. And if you look at the introduction, so here what I did was, so we carried out MIG welding. So MIG welding is highly essential for the production of low carbon steel. So after performing MIG welding, many authors have stated that, so the strength of the joint is very less due to the coarse grains. So if I want to refine the grain, that is, if I am trying to reduce the size of the grain, that will be very much suitable to be used for very enormous applications. So based on this, what I did was, so I have taken the MIG welded low carbon steel, and I have seen the microstructure wherein it has a very coarse grain. So my objective is to refine the grain size so that I can enhance the mechanical property. Keeping that in mind, I performed laser remelting process. So if you look at the introduction of this particular paper, so initially I spoke about the need for the subject. That is, metal inert gas welding has been traditionally employed for joining low carbon steel, which is being often used for the construction of bridges, ships and automobile applications. And previous studies have revealed the toughness of the weldment is greatly reduced by the formation of more than 77% of ferritic phase in the low carbon steel. And besides, the mechanical properties of the arc welded joints are affected due to the presence of coarse grains and wider heat affected zone. So up to this, I spoke about the need for this particular subject. So it is well evident that from these lines I can say that why we are going for this particular topic is, that is, the size of the grains are very large, which has a deleterious effect over the mechanical property. So this is a need for the subject. And next line I can say that I am writing about the background. Here refinement of grains in the weldment is of prime importance. So this is your background. After writing the background, I wrote something about the current status. So you can see over here several grain refinement techniques such as well pull stirring, electromagnetic stirring, ultrasonic vibration, arc pulsation and arc oscillation are available to counteract the above effect. So these are the various methods available. And I stated that there is Jia Liu et al. Have performed ultrasonic vibration in laser MIG welded joints and observed a significant refinement in the microstructure, which in turn has led to the higher tensile strength of the joint. So this particular person have worked on laser MIG welding and found a significant improvement in the property. So likewise, I wrote that the treatment of treatment of the pulse current on the gas metal arc welding has restrained the dendritic growth, resulting in the fine grains. It is being quoted by some others. Likewise, I have given few current status of this MIG welding, and I told the reason with references. The second paragraph, that is Sandil Kumar et al. Have demonstrated that the presence of equiax grain in the microstructure of welded AA6061 aluminum has led to the significant improvement in the tensile strength. Most recent work carried out by Devendra Kumar Ramnath et al. Have demonstrated that the low energy shark peening carried out in the hash alloy welds have resulted in the remarkable improvement of tensile strength of the welded joint by shifting the location of tensile failures away from the fusion zone. So what I want to convey is, I told lot of things about the current status, what the fellow researchers have performed and what they observed. And after reference 18, I told that I told about the current status till reference 18, and after that I found out the gap. Despite several studies are available to refine the microstructure of the weldments, so though there are plenty of methods for refining the grain size, laser surface remelting can be considered as the best technique, as it has received much attention in modifying the surface of the plasma sprayed ceramic coatings. So what I want to convey here is, so plenty of others have reported that they have refined the grain size by several methods. But among all the methods, laser remelting is one of the methods wherein it is effectively employed for refining the grain size of the ceramic coating. But none of the researchers have worked on this laser remelting for refining the grain size of the weldment. Okay. So initially I told about the current status, who are the persons who worked on that particular area, that is regarding grain size refinement. And finally, I told the importance of laser remelting and how it is being employed on coating. And subsequently, I told that this laser remelting has not been carried out on weldment. So that is my gap. So that is my research gap. So I have gone through the entire current status or current investigation and found that there is a gap for refinement of grain size in weldment. So I found that laser remelting has not been employed so far in the case of refining the grain size of the weldment. So that is my research gap. Then I wrote that this work aims at refining the grain size of the weldment by laser remelting. So this is my objective. So now I want to summarize that. So if you go for writing the introduction, first thing I told about the importance of the study, that is why MIG welding is important and what are the drawbacks, and subsequently I told about the background, and followed by that I said something about the current status, who are all the others performed work on laser remelting for refining the grain size and what were their observation, and followed by that I found a gap. So what is the gap? Laser remelting has not been performed on those weldments so far by any of the others. So that is the gap, and I have to fulfill the gap by means of my objective. So my aim is to, you can see that in the last line, hence this work is first of its kind, that is nobody has reported yet. So here this work is first of its kind, wherein laser remelting was carried out on the top surface of the MIG welded joints, and its microstructural features and mechanical properties are discussed in detail. So this is how you have to write an introduction. So once you write the introduction in this manner, definitely, so reviewer will take this as a positive and try to review the entire manuscript. So far we started with the title, then we talked about abstract, and followed by that we have also seen introductory part. Now we are moving on to experimental section. So why experimental section is necessary? So for example, if somebody is asking me to see what is available in a closed room. So you assume that a room is closed, and if some person is asking me to find out what is there inside the closed room, so I will look for a key. I will ask that particular person to give the key. So unless I have the key, I cannot go and see inside that particular room and find out what is there. So likewise, so if you go for any manuscript without the experimental section, that is this experimental section acts as a key. So without this, a researcher cannot do anything. That is, if a researcher is just going through your paper, he will go through your experimental section and will perform the experiment as per this procedure, and he will see whether it is reproducible. So I can say that this holds a key of the entire manuscript. Without experimental section, you cannot do or write any manuscript. And here we want to discuss how we are going to write the experimental section. And previously, I told about why experimental section is important for all scientific article. And though this particular section is a key of the entire manuscript, and it is the easiest section of the whole manuscript. You can write it easily. So next slide, sir. So this section is the key of our research. So here what you are going to say is, you have to explain what and how you did your research work, so that any reader or the researcher with the same source can reproduce or replicate your research work. So here your experimental section, you have to write the details in such a way that whenever any beginner or researcher who wants to perform that work, he should do the same work, and he can see whether it is having very good reproducibility. So that is the most important thing. So you should not conceal any of the information. You should write the sentences or experimental section step by step in a clear, crystal manner, so that anyone can do the experiment and they can find out the results. So this section is the direct evidence of your ideas presented. So next slide, sir. So if you look at the experimental section, it comprises of several parts. So first one is, it should have the chemical or material details. And that is, if you look at the chemical and material details, for example, if I am working on nanotechnology, I should say what is the chemical, where from I purchased, and what is the purity of that chemical. So that should be well written. And if I purchase some material for my study, for example, low carbon mild steel, so there I can, I want to write something about the composition of the mild steel, and where from I procured, that details has to be given in a proper way. And second, it should have synthesis method. For example, if I am working on nanotechnology, I would have synthesized a particular powder by means of sol-gel process. So in that sol-gel technique, what are the steps involved? That should be represented in a clear way. And followed by the device fabrication. If your work involve, or if you have any device fabrication, that should also be represented in a step-by-step manner, so that it should be reproducible by some other others. And simulation. So this is applicable for theoretician. If any person is working on theoretical aspect, then simulation is essential. So wherein you can discuss about the softwares available, and what is the parameter you have optimized, everything can be represented in simulation section. So this is applicable only for theoretician. And if there is any formula to calculate few of the properties, then you have to mention the formula. And in that particular formula, you have to abbreviate the terms involved in the formula. And finally, characterization. So these are the instruments which are used to evaluate the property. So whenever you are writing something about instrument, you should say where from you procured, and what is the make, and what are the parameters you fixed for measuring that particular property. So everything should be specified in a better manner, so that any researcher who is planning to do the work, he should get the results whatever you obtained. Next slide. So this is about chemical or material method. So as I said, details of the material with purity and company name should be given. And you should also mention whether you have adopted some process for purification, or without purification you have carried out experimental work. That should be written in a clear manner. Next. And synthesis method. As I told, in the synthesis method, so in abstract as well as title, I told that you have to specify only the method. So I remember that in one of the journal I told that hydrothermal method. So in that the author has specified only the method in title as well as abstract, wherein here in the experimental session you have to clearly explain the experimental procedure. Step by step procedure should be explained, so that if anybody is doing your work, it should be reproducible. And instead of writing as a sentence, you can give some schematic picture, so that will be easily understandable by the fellow researchers. Next is that. So similarly, if there is a device fabrication, you can also write the procedure, and you can reveal the entire information step by step, so that it will be reproducible if somebody is doing your research. Similarly, simulation. So this is applicable for theoretical persons, and here you should specify the software or program involved. You should also mention the details of the software and which version you have used, so that the new researcher can reproduce the same. Next slide. Characterization. So once you go for characterization, so this is about the instruments which are used for evaluating the properties. So whenever you are writing about the instrument used, you should specify the instrument's make and where from you procured, and what is the parameter you fixed for evaluating the property. That should be well written. So this is a general formula. For example, if I want to calculate the corrosion rate, in that section I should mention the value, that is a corrosion rate formula. So here some other formula is written. So like this, you have to specify the appropriate formula, and further you have to specify each and every term, and that should be represented in a very good manner. In some cases people will write the formula in the results and discussion session also, but it is preferable to write the formula in this particular experimental section. Next is. And now let us see a journal in which how they have written the experimental details. So the journal that is Applied Nanomaterials, that is the journal name, and phase and crystal structure controlled synthesis of BA2O3, Fe2O3 and BaFeO3 nanomaterials for energy storage devices. So this is your title. So if you look at the experimental details, as I said, first they spoke something about chemical. So you can see that the starting materials were bismuth, nitrate, pentahydride. They have given the purity, that is 99% purity, and moreover they mentioned that they obtained these chemicals from Sigma Aldrich. So this is about the chemical details. Next. And coming to the synthesis part, so here they have elaborated step-by-step procedure for synthesizing that that is BaFeO3 based nanoparticles. So here you can say that in a typical synthesis, e.g. ethylene glycol was used as a solvent to prepare BaFeO3. Likewise, they have explained each and everything. They have used a Swirl-gel technique. They have specified each and everything with appropriate temperature, then duration. Everything was clearly mentioned here. So if somebody wants to reproduce it, definitely they can end up with the same result obtained by this author. Next. Likewise, if any devices are employed for your research work, so there you can write the details in a step-by-step fashion, and you can also use some formula. If there is a formula, you can use it, and you can abbreviate the terms in the formula. Next. And characterization. As I said, characterization is nothing but the instruments used for evaluating the property. So if you look at this, initially they used X-ray diffraction analysis to find out the phase. So that is represented here. Phase analysis was carried out using Malvern Pananalytical Expert Powder X-ray diffraction instrument. That is the instrument name, make. That is the make of the instrument. The parameter uses the acceleration voltage of 30 kilovolt and applied current of 50 milliampere, and with CUK alpha radiation in the 2 theta scanning range at 10 to 90 degrees. So this is the parameter used for evaluating the phase using X-ray diffraction analysis. So likewise FTIR, it has been used and they have specified the make. Then morphological studies were studied using that is scanning electron microscopy. They have given the specification. So likewise you have to specify the make of each and every instrument, and if there is any parameter involved, you should specify everything clearly. Okay, the next. So this is the sample paper. So this is my paper. that is properties of plasma spread, alumina titania and zirconia blended coatings on biomedical alloy. So this has been published in Transaction of Indian Ceramic Society. It was in 2021. So here initially I spoke something about the sample preparation. So here what I did was we have taken a titanium 13 niobium 13 zirconium substrate and over which we have coated alumina titania, that is a ceramic powder. So initially I talked about the substrate, that is base metal titanium 13 niobium 13 zirconium alloy, which is having a dimension of 3.5 into 2 into 0.4, was initially subjected to grid blasting using some equipment. And I have mentioned the make of that equipment. Then I spoke something about the powder, a nanostructured alumina titanium powder. So where from it is procured, that is Inframed Corporation. And I mentioned about the details of the powder. And later I have used some plasma spraying technique to coat that powder over the base material. So this atmospheric plasma spray technique was employed, and there I mentioned the make of that atmospheric plasma spraying technique. So likewise, so here what I did was I mentioned the make of each and every instruments, and further I also specified the dimension of the base metal used. And after that the plasma spraying technique was performed by varying several parameters. That was also emphasized there in the subsequent lines. And I told that the optimized parameters were obtained in a particular at a particular parameter. That was explained in detail. So this is about the sample preparation and coating techniques adopted in my paper. So next. And after that, after coating, we went for characterization. So as stated earlier, so here morphology was studied using scanning electron microscope. I have mentioned the make. Similarly, XRD was used for analyzing the face. So I mentioned the make and the parameters involved in that X-ray diffraction analysis. Everything was explained in a very good manner. And subsequently, we summarize. I can say that whenever you are writing anything, you should write the step-by-step procedure. And if you are using any instrument, you should specify the make and where from you procured. So once you write that, definitely it is okay. And followed by that, we are going for the most important part, that results and discussion. So if you go for results and discussion, so most of the researchers who are publishing papers, so what they do is they will make mistakes in results and discussion section. So in results and discussion section, so the researcher will just reveal the result, just like a report, and he won't discuss about the results in a proper manner. So that is why most of the papers are getting rejected. So whenever we are speaking about the results, you should give discussion on that particular result. That is the most important thing. And moreover, once you discuss about the result, you have to compare your result with the other researchers, and you have to justify the reason why your result is significantly better than the other results. The mechanism or science behind that should be well explained in the results and discussion with the references. Once you do that, so that will give a better clarity of results and discussion. Please wait for a few minutes. So if you look at the results and discussion, the most important thing is first you have to observe the results. So as I said, results may be in the form of table, figures, or in the form of graphical representation. Whatever may be the case, you have to just observe it for 2 to 3 times. Once you observe that, if you are repeatedly observing anything, definitely you will get some observation. So that should be noted down in a separate paper. So that is your result. And after noting down the results, you have to find out the reason for that particular result. And you have to find out the reason for the result, and subsequently, as I said, you have to compare your results with the results obtained by some other researchers who has worked on the same topic. So if you find that your result is significantly better when compared with the results reported by X or Y, then you should justify the reason with clear explanation. And even if your result is not that much remarkable, in that case also you can discuss what is the reason for that is marginal improvement. So everything should be discussed in detail. So this is about the results and discussion. As I said, most of the researchers will fail to write what is the reason for obtaining this result. For example, if there is a graph, say hardness improvement in the coating. So initially you would have got a very good improvement in the hardness up to a certain depth, and below a certain depth there will be a drastic fall in the hardness. There is a drop in the hardness. So you should write about the surge in the hardness, what is the reason for that, and after that why there is a sudden that is dip in the hardness. That should be well represented. Unless you write about that, the possibility of accepting the paper is very less. So now you go to the previous slide, sir. So if you look at the image, as I said, so this is your results which is displayed in the form of figure. And if you look at the figure, so right hand side, right and left hand side, you can say that that is the image taken at different magnification using scanning electron microscope. That is right hand side you could see the scanning electron microscopic image, and left hand side that is the image taken using transmission electron microscopy. In the middle you have X-ray diffraction analysis peaks. So now if I observe this figure for 2 or 3 times, I can say that in the SEM image, that is scanning electron microscopic image, you can see round particles. So that is of spherical in nature. So that is the first observation I should note. And moreover, I could say that the particles are uniformly distributed. That is another observation. And moreover, the uniformity in the powder, that is the size of the powder is not uniform. So by visualizing I can get these kind of information. And as a researcher I can say that I can also find a few holes, that is porosity, and voids are there. And if you are zooming a particular region at higher magnification, you can say that there is agglomeration of particle. So you can see that there is agglomeration of particle. So you can see this is the agglomeration of particle. So likewise I can get plenty of information if I am working on this particular topic. So these are the observations, you have to note it down in a separate paper. And if you look at the middle figure, that is X-ray diffraction analysis. So I can say that there is a sharp peak at one angle. You can see for all those there is four X-ray diffraction analysis peaks. In all those 4 regions, I could see a sharp improvement, intense peak is observed in all the 4 cases at a particular angle. And here, if a peak is very sharp, I can say that it is highly crystalline in nature. And I should also think what is the need for getting a sharp peak. So these are the observations, I can note it down by just visualizing this figure. And here what they will do is just they will observe and they will write it in a paper. And if that is being represented in a results and discussion, definitely the reviewer will reject the paper, and I should justify each and everything. For example, if I am getting more number of pores in that particular SEM image, I should say what is the reason for that and who are all the persons who ended up with this kind of pores. So that should be well explained with references. And finally, if you note it down, you would have seen something about the sharp peak. So what is the reason for the formation of sharp intense peak at that particular angle, and what other researchers have observed, whether there is a discrepancy, and if there is a discrepancy, what is the reason for that. Everything should be represented in a discussion session. Unless you represent that, definitely the possibility of rejection will be more. And now if you look at the results and discussion section, this section should be written in a past tense. So initially it should be written, if you look at the experimental part, it should always be represented in a past tense. So here in the results and discussion, the section should be written in past tense at one stage, and present tense in one point of view, and finally you should use future tense. So let us see where you are using these different tenses. For example, the first few lines you will speak about the result. For example, write down the obtained results either in the form of figures, graphs, tables from each experimental theoretical measurements. Already I told about this. The first part of this particular results and discussion, you need to use past tense. Example, you can say that the structural properties of the asteroid samples were investigated using XRD. So as shown in figure 1. So this is the first part of your results and discussion. So this should always be written in past tense. So next. And second part of the section needs to be written in present tense to explain your current result. That is, I spoke something about porosity, then size, shape of the particle, intense peak, everything I observed based on the images. So whenever you are speaking about your result, then it should be written in present tense. And after writing the results, you should compare your results with the other person's result, and you should justify why you got better results as compared with the other researchers, and what is the science behind that. That should be clearly explained. That is about the second part. So I can say that example figure 1 shows the XRD pattern of WO2, that is tungsten oxide, and what are the observation you found that can be mentioned here. That should be written in past, that is present tense. So after each result, add a discussion. After each result, add a discussion and interpret the significance or remarkable finding of your investigation in comparison with the reported literatures on the same topic. So this is the most important thing. Most of the researchers fail in this section. So here what is mentioned is, you observed some result and you got better result, and you should write the mechanism for that better result, and you should always compare this remarkable result with the results reported by some other researchers, and you should justify what is the reason behind that. So that should be written in a very good manner. Important part of discussion is comparing results of your findings with others' literature. Then if your result is significantly different from literature, try to put a plausible explanation for the same. So it is not necessary that your result should always be significantly higher than others' results. Even if your result is slightly lower than that of the results reported by other person, then also you can justify with reason or mechanism. So this is about results and discussion. So here in the second part, you are going to write everything by means of that is present tense. Next slide. Then after that, next reverse la poringa. Okay, back. Okay, followed by that. So initially that was written in past tense. That is the figure show. That is phase analysis was performed by XRD. That was the first part. Second part, it should be written in the present tense, stating what is your result and how you are going to compare your result with the others' result and how you are going to justify. That should be written in present tense. And followed by that, the end part of the discussion should be written in future tense. So here what you are going to do is, you have to summarize the entire findings or significant improvement you would have observed. That should be summarized, and finally you should give a hint or motivation for the future work. That is about the third part of your results and discussion. So to summarize, in results and discussion, what is expected is, you can use all the three tenses. So initially you have to that is the microstructure was examined by scanning electron microscope. That is the first part of your results and discussion. In second part, you should write what you observed in the some image. That should be written in present tense. And whenever you are writing about the results, that result should be interpreted with the results reported by some other researchers. And if there is a significant improvement in the research, that should be justified. And you should say what is the reason behind that, what mechanism is there, and what is the science behind that. That should be well explained. And finally, in the third part, you are going to summarize the main findings, and you are going to give a hint to use that particular material or what to be used for future applications. You can see the end part. The end of the discussion part must be written in future tense if further development of your study has importance in future. Example, the developed material could act as a promising material for future energy devices. So this is written after summarizing all the entire results, and I am concluding that this particular there is a possibility of using this material for future. So this is about results and discussion. So if you look at this paper, so this is one of the papers taken from Elsevier. So if you look at the results and discussion part, so these are the some images, that is microstructural observation taken using scanning electron microscope. If you visualize this, As I said, the first sentence of the results and discussion was written in past tense. The morphology of the asynthesis samples was examined by FESEM, that is field emission scanning electron microscope, as shown in figure 1, like that. That was written in the past tense, and followed by that you can see that now in the second part I am going to represent the results whatever I achieved. So that should be written in the present tense. So here you can see it shows the FESCM images of WO2 nanoplates by XRD at different magnifications. So in that paragraph they detailed about the results whatever they obtained using scanning electron microscope. Just like that, pores, voids, whatever observation they made, that is written over there. And followed by that, so a good researcher will compare these images with images reported by some other authors, and he will try to justify that. So that should be in the second part. Next is that. And finally, you can see that the third part, they have compared few results with the results reported by few people. Here you can see that. So many others have worked on the same research area and found a different size of the nanoplates. But here, after comparison, they found that the formation of much smaller dimension nanoplates in the present work. So many people have worked on the same area and observed that this paper, this present work has resulted in a very fine nanoplates. So for that they are justifying as the formation of much smaller dimension nanoplates in the present work is attributed to lower synthesis temperature and shorter reaction duration. So this is what a reviewer will expect. So here in this paper, some researcher has developed a nanomaterial and he got a nanoplate with different size. So this kind of work has been performed by several others using different techniques or same techniques, and they got more or less similar results. But finally, this author is justifying that. So he observed very good improvement in the property, that is nanoplates were very fine. So the reason for the formation of very smaller nanoplates as compared with the results reported by other authors is due to the shorter reaction duration and a lower synthesis temperature. So this is the science behind the this is the reason for obtaining very fine nano plates as compared with other researchers' work. So this should be represented in a clear manner. So next. So this is how you have to represent the results. So this is one of my papers. So this was published in 2014 in Surface Engineering, Detonation Gun Sprayed Alumina Titania Coatings for Biomedical Applications. So if you look at that, so for each and every section you have to represent the results and discussion in this fashion. So previously I showed only one part, that is about some image. So likewise, if you are doing some hardness, corrosion test, so several sections will be there. For each and every section you should follow those rules whatever I specified. So initially you should adopt past tense, then present tense. You have to compare the results with other people's literature, and you should write the mechanism behind the improvement, and finally you should summarize the findings, and you have to give a hint for the future reference. So here also I have utilized the same thing. I can show that this is one part of the results and discussion section. The micrographs of AT coating deposited using conventional powders exhibited. So first I have to write in past tense. I would have written like this. It is not necessary. If I want, I can write the some images, that is the microstructural analysis of the coating were examined using scanning electron microscope. That should be written in past tense, and followed by that this is my result. The micrographs of AT coating deposited using conventional powders exhibited typical sprayed microstructures depicting fully molten splats as shown in figure. On the other hand, in nanostructured AT coating, few splats were present along with partially melted and unmelted particles. Figure 2b. Presence of unmelted nanoparticles in the fully melted splats was clearly revealed at higher magnification. So these are the results. I never discussed about anything, what is the reason for that. And subsequently, I told about cross-section. The cross-sectional morphologies of coating reveals the presence of more splats with fewer microstructure, 19% as depicted in figure 3. However, so after this, I compared my results with the other researchers. So up to this, I got a result. And after this I told that, however, this observation is contradictory to those of the conventional coatings obtained using atmospheric plasma spring technique, wherein more numerous lamellar structures were observed as reported by several researchers. So I can my result is in contradiction with that of the results reported by some other others who performed the same work using some other technique. And I have explained this variation or this discrepancy in the microstructure of the sprayed conventional coating is mainly attributed to the lower temperature and high velocity attained by the particles in the detonation gun process. So this is very important. So each and every person can write up to this based on the observation. Results it can be well written based on the observation. Even a layman can write the results, what he observed. And after this what I did was, I have specified this result is in contradiction with that of the results reported by other researchers. And after that I justified what is the reason for this discrepancy. That is well explained here. So likewise, if you look at this, here also the porosity of both the nano and the conventional coatings are found to be some value. The porosity of the nano coating thus obtained in this current work is significantly lower than the HVF thermal sprayed coating reported by one other. Then I have specified the reason. Actually in my work I got very low porosity. So that is being compared with a researcher who performed HVOF thermal sprayed alumina titanium coating. That is reference number 24. Then I am justifying the reason why I got low porosity. The reason for the very low porosity in the degun sprayed coating is mainly due to the high velocity involved in the process, and this is evident from the cross-sectional images of the coating. So like that, your interpretation will be such a way that, it should be such a way that, so if you observe any contradictory or discrepancy in your result with the results reported by others, so that is acceptable, provided if you are giving a mechanism or science behind that. Unless you specify the mechanism or science behind the discrepancy in your results, so your paper will not be accepted. So this is how you have to write the results and discussion session. Next. So finally, we are moving on to conclusion section. So this is more or less similar to that of the abstract section. There will be a similarity between the conclusion and the abstract section. As I told in the initial stage, in abstract section, if you are combining few keywords of the entire story or your whole manuscript, that is your abstract. So likewise in conclusion also you are going to write few of the keywords of the entire manuscript, but the keywords should justify your title. That is the most important thing. So here while writing the conclusion you should not do this. Don't write any new information which was not discussed throughout your research work. So whichever thing you didn't discuss in any of the manuscript should not be represented here. No repetition of the sentences and no description of methods or discussions of the results. Here just you are going to conclude. You need not discuss what is the reason behind that. And you should not quote any references in any of the conclusion section. Next is it. So these are the points to be focused to write a clear and concise conclusion. So as I said, so here this conclusion is nothing but that is if you are combining few keywords of the entire manuscript, that is a conclusion which is more or less similar to that of the abstract. However, your conclusion should justify the title. So that is the first point to be kept in mind. And here you are going to list out the major findings of your work. And though you did lot of experiments, you would have got very large number of values. But in conclusion, you have to just represent the significant results alone. And finally, if possible, you can also write about the importance of your findings. And finally, you are going to motivate the researchers to carry out research in this particular field. So that should be included in the conclusion section. Next. So these are the parts to be included in the conclusion. If you look at this paper, initially the author has said that we have developed a facile SO4 2 minus in situ modified strategy to fabricate. So he has specified few keywords taken from the entire manuscript. So this is justifying the title. And finally, if you look at the last line, you can very well see that the mechanism proposed in this study may shed light on the design of many other oxyanion modified catalyst. So here what I want to say is, so first thing is, you should write a conclusion in such a way that it should justify the title, and in between they have written something about the major findings which I don't want to discuss in detail, and at the final stage they mentioned about the future scope or motivation for this work. So that is being represented here. Next page. So this is my paper. If you look at the conclusion for this paper, so here already I told about this work. So MIG welding was done on low carbon steel. So the grain size was found to be very coarse. So that in turn has reduced the mechanical property. So we have used several methods, among which this laser remelting was not at all performed on this particular low carbon mild steel. So we are the first person to work on laser melting on MIG welded mild steel, so that we observed some grain refinement. So based on that I have concluded. So first thing, I told that the microstructure and mechanical properties in the MIG and laser remelted joints were examined and the following conclusions were drawn. So the first 3 lines shows the justification of the title. So these 3 lines contain keywords taken from the entire manuscript, so which in turn justifies the title. And now I am displaying my results. That is the weld appearances. It is found to be continuous and crack free. And if you look at the third point, I can say that. So these are the results, 5 results. If you look at the third point, the MIG welded joint showed a 8% increase in the hardness as compared with that of the laser remelted MIG welding joint at 600 watt. Something is mentioned there. So yesterday, Dr. Damodaran sir was saying that whenever you are representing anything in a conclusion, you should not say that there is an improvement in the hardness. So generic statement is to be avoided. I should say that there should be a this much percentage increase or 3-fold increase in the value. That kind of statement should be there. So you can note down in point number 3. Then point number 4 also I mentioned as effect of laser remelting performed at 400 watt on the 400 watt on the MIG welded joint has resulted in 12% increase. So likewise, I have represented the increment in terms of percentage, and I can also represent this in terms of fold, 3-fold, 4-fold increase like that. Similarly, 5th point, laser remelting performed at 400 watt on the MIG welded joint has led to 12% increase in the percentage of elongation. So likewise, I have given some information. Next, and this is the 6th point, that is laser remelted welded joints have shown better combination of strength and ductility as compared with MIG welded joint. General statement. So based on all this conclusion, I am saying that consequently from all of our above studies, laser remelted MIG welding is provided to be viable for the production of low carbon steel. So I am summarizing the entire findings and I am giving the researchers to do some research work on this topic in future. So this is about the conclusion. And followed by that, you have references. So references may vary depending upon the journal. Yesterday, again, the Dr. Damodaran sir gave a hands-on training regarding these references using software, and you can follow that. And to summarize, I hope that I would have justified your that is participation. Initially, I started with there is a title, and up to references I have explained in a better manner, and I hope that you all people would have understood everything. And if you have any doubt, you can interact with me. I will answer for that. Thank you. What are the queries? Online doubt online interact பண்ணுங்க. So if you have any queries, please feel free to contact, and I am ready to answer for your queries. And if you have any feedback also, you can give. No, it is not. You need not worry about the number of pages for introduction. So instead, as I said, the introduction should have the parts whatever I mentioned. The most important thing is subject and the importance of subject, and background. Followed by that, background should be there. Few lines are sufficient. And whenever you are discussing about the current status of the work, there you can write at least 2 pages. That is, you can use 7 to 8 there is literature, there is fellow researchers who worked on that, and you can specify the results. I think up to 2 pages it is sufficient, but whatever may be the number of pages, the statement which you are going to give, that should be justifiable. That is sufficient. Number of pages is not a major issue. Okay, I will explain. I will summarize. One of the faculty member is asking about to summarize the entire thing, concepts. So if I want to summarize the key concepts, so as I told, if you want to write a very beautiful title should contain the following information. So first thing is it should have the subject, main subject, and the method, what method you have employed, and the major findings. So that's all about the title. And whenever you are writing any title, you should follow this method. And the abstract. So if you go for abstract session, so first thing is, so you should write something about the background of the abstract, then again method, then the results. Results means significant results, whatever you observe, that can be written in terms of percentage or fold, like that. And finally, 1 or 2 lines you can summarize the significant findings, and you can give a hint for the researchers to go for future work. So this is about the abstract. And if you go for introduction, that is the most crucial part of your manuscript. So as I said, first you should be familiar about the subject, what field you are going to work. And whenever you are writing about a particular subject or field, you should write why it is important. So you should quote few references. That should be taken from reputed journals, and you can also take it from standard textbooks. And followed by that, the most important thing is current research work. Who are the persons who worked on that particular area, and what are their observations? So this is possible only if you are reading so many papers. Unless you read anything, you cannot write the current status in an appropriate manner. So once you do that, so definitely you will find the research gap. As I shown some paper. So there were many works. However, this kind of work is not being done so far. Till now, or up to date, nobody has worked on that. So like that kind of research gap will be available only if you are reading the literature vividly, and at the same time, daily if you are reading some article, you will find out the research gap, and that can be taken as objective to fulfill the gap. So that ends the introductory part. And going for experimental part, so as I said, you may have several sections in experimental section. That depends upon your field of work. So whatever may be the thing, so whenever you are writing any introductory part, you should specify, you should disclose everything in detail, so that if a fellow researcher is working on that, it should be reproducible. So as I said, if you are dealing about chemicals, especially chemistry or nanotechnology or material science people, then you should speak about the purity of the chemical, where from you procured, and if you are using an instrument, you should mention about the make. So for what purpose you are going to use, and what are the parameters involved, that should be dealt in detail. And if any formula is involved in that, you just expand the term of each and every formula. And that is about experimental section. That is the key part of your manuscript, and without that you cannot proceed. And that is the easiest section to write, and no need to put any references. If possible, in some cases, if you are doing the same experiments again and again, which has been already published in a paper, then you can in experimental session. Mostly you need not quote any of the references. And coming to the results and discussion, the most important thing is you should just view the results 3 or 4 times, and you should note down the observation in a separate notebook. And after that you should think what is the reason for that. Like that kind of thinking will be very much applicable to discuss about the results obtained. And that is possible only if you read more number of papers. Unless you read papers, and if you are trying to cut and copy, definitely you cannot discuss the results in an appropriate manner. And after discussing, directly you can summarize the finding, and you can give a hint for the future work. So that is about results and discussion. And to conclusion, if you go for conclusion, the first part you should write something about there is key findings, and followed by that you have to summarize the finding, and finally you are going to motivate the researcher to pursue research in that particular area. So finally, you can go for references. For that, you can use referencing software, and that is about the. That is a brief explanation of the entire talk, whatever I have given for the past 1.5 hours. So for publishing papers in reputed journals, we have to take at least 1 hour time daily, and you have to read so many papers related to that particular field. So if you are doing like that regularly, definitely you can publish more number of papers in reputed international journals. Unless we read many papers, you cannot write anything and publish it in a very good journal. So you should be a vivid reader. Methodology, I used to read a lot. We have to be a vivid reader. Daily morning we have to wake up by 4 o'clock and read many papers. So once you do that, at least you take or spend 1 hour for reading papers related to your research work. Once you do that, your critical thinking will enhance, and automatically you will have plenty of ideas, so that you can use that particular ideas for discussing the results. So regarding fast publication, what you can do is, yesterday Dr. Damodaran sir was showing a journal finder. So wherein if you are typing the abstract or keyword of the abstract, you could find out a number of journals pertaining to your research work. So there I think you would have remembered that he has shown that. So if you submit your paper, so what is the time taken for the first decision? What is the time taken for the first decision, and when it will be accepted? So based on that, you can find out to which journal you have to communicate. So that is one thing. And the another thing is, if you are referring the hard copies of any journal, or if you are referring the journal, there you would have seen that is received, when it was received, when the journal was, the manuscript was received, and for acceptance how long it took. So based on that, you can decide whether it is that review will be happening rapidly or very slowly. And another thing is, so these are the ways in which you can find out the journal, and moreover you can go through the guideline for others. So wherein you can find that the number of issues per year will be there. If there are more number of issues per year, it indicates that the paper will be published at the early stage. You need not wait for too long time. So these are the ways in which you can identify the journal for quick publication. So so if you want to improve the research work and if you want to guide more number of students, so as I said, we should find out in which area we are strong. For example, in my case, I am very much interested in metallurgy. Even it may be welding, nanotechnology, composite material, surface engineering, whatever may be the thing. So whenever you came across several journals, you should read starting from the title to till the end. So if you are able to read many papers, definitely you can give a lot of inputs to the students, and based on that you can give some minor project to each and every UG students, and you can make them to publish a paper in reputed international journal. So you can segregate the batches. For example, if there are 10 students, you can segregate the work into 2 batches, and you can give one part to one part of the students, and other group of students will carry other half, and combinedly you can discuss about the results and further. So thank you very much. Thank you.
On behalf of everyone here, I thank you for such an impactful presentation. Your thoughts have truly resonated with the audience. You spoke with such clarity and conviction. Thank you, sir. As we come to the end of today's session, I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to the speakers for sharing his knowledge and expertise with us. To end this session, I now call upon Mrs. Srilekha, MBA Department, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good morning, everyone. It's my honor and privilege to deliver the vote of thanks on this special occasion. On behalf of Jaya Group, Jaya College of Engineering and Technology. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you for making this faculty development program a memorable success. First and foremost, I would like to thank our keynote speaker, Dr. S. Satish, Principal of Jaya College of Engineering and Technology, for gracing us with this presence and sharing their valuable insights. Your words would truly inspire and enlighten us. I extend my sincere thanks to all speakers who took time out of their busy schedule to be with us today and contribute their knowledge and experience. A special thanks to our organizer, volunteers and support staff whose tireless effort behind the scenes made everything run smoothly. Thank you, Jackson Daniel, for your generous support. Last but not the least, to our wonderful audience, thank you for the time and participate. Your presence added great value to this faculty development program. As we conclude, let's carry forward the energy and ideas we have shared today. Wishing you all continued success in good health. Thank you once again. Disperse.
Thank you everyone. Thank you everyone for your cooperation. Let's meet tomorrow. Thank you all.